Hey everyone, we are live right now here at High Level with Laura Meyer. Now, you may not know Laura. I'm excited to kind of share with the world the things that I've learned about some of the cool things Laura is doing. She built a company called Joy Brand Creative. Is that right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, awesome. Now, we have a lot of things to share on this masterclass, a lot of cool things you're doing with your business. Laura, before we get to it, what is your story? What's your
Yeah.
background? Help us understand, your path to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and I'm thrilled to share. So, thanks so much for having me. I love High Level. It's such a huge part of my business. And about 8 years ago, I hit the reset button and started over from scratch. So, if anybody here is listening and you've been there before, I got you. Like if you are climbing this big mountain in your career and you realize you are on the wrong path, I have been exactly where you've been. And I started consulting. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a brick and mortar chain that I had grown and I was done with retail and I started reaching out to other businesses that I knew and said, "Hey, do you need help?" And I started doing some fractional CMO work and some consulting work. And before I knew it, I had grown to over seven figures in revenue as a consultant, doing high ticket, low volume services. And I think consulting is kind of like the unsung hero of the online space. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's not spoken of, but it is such a great path for those of you who might have corporate experience or agency experience and you're looking for something new. So today I have both my consultancy and I also help people get started in consulting. I'm a mom to three. I live in Southeast Pennsylvania and I play a ridiculous amount of pickleball and tennis. So that's my story.
You know what's funny? The pickleball thing is insanely
Huge.
trendy. I mean, I go to the gym at Lifetime and there's like a line outside on a Saturday morning for people
Yeah.
to just get into a court. Um, it's incredible. Help us understand how you found something that's trendy like high level. Like before high level, what were you doing? I as a marketer, we were duct taping and patching up a bunch of different softwares. Was that
Yeah.
kind of the world you lived in as well?
For sure, and because I had a multi-location brick and mortar chain, it's funny, I thought you were gonna go down the path of how did I find pickleball, and I was like, "Well, I was on the tennis court and it looked like they were having more fun, but don't tell any of my tennis friends that." But when it comes to high level, I stumbled upon it by accident. And I think at first, I had heard of it. I knew people who were using it, but I had such a different business model that was more high ticket, low volume, more bespoke. I didn't really think it was a fit for what I do until I ran into a client who was desperate. And I'll tell a little bit more of that story during my presentation today. But once I saw the results it got for this client, it happened to be a nonprofit client, and once I saw the results that it literally replaced an employee at an organization that was running pretty lean and really needed immediate assistance without having to make an additional hire. Once I saw what it did for them, I started bringing in on all of my client work and it's completely transformed everything. Not only does it give me a great recurring revenue stream on the back end of when I'm done with consulting, but it helps my clients so much achieve their goals faster and easier than they could have on their own. And so coming with my own technology platform that I combine with consulting has been it's kind of my secret sauce that I guess won't be so secret anymore after this presentation. But I'm really excited to share because it's something I kind of had to figure out the hard way. And hopefully, I can help anybody here who's listening really get some new ideas and be able to implement some of what I've been doing in their company as well.
I love that. Chat, I have a question for you. How many of you that are watching right now has considered a consulting vehicle, consulting lane in your business? Is that something you're interested in? Give me a one in the chat if consulting is interesting to you, at least. Now, Laura, before I know we have, slides and presentations to
Yeah.
kind of help keep our conversation a bit more structured, but I have two questions for you as we start. First things first, define consulting. What is consulting? Is it include implementation? Is it strategic? Is it analytical? Like what is consulting in your definition?
Yeah. I love that you asked this. Consulting means different things to different people. Some people might call it fractional C-suite services, like fractional CMO consulting. But to me, consulting is all about trading outcomes for income, meaning that is our job as consultants to help our clients reach their goals faster, easier, with less of a learning curve than they would on their own. And ultimately, we are not trading time for money as consultants, which I think sometimes people make the mistake that they think they are. That's what I would call freelancing. Consulting is all about helping those businesses achieve those outcomes in a way that you are creating so much value for the organization that they are receiving more than they're paying you. And it doesn't mean you can't charge premium rates. I very much do. But what it means, it's all about value creation for that business. And that gets you out of the time for money paradigm, which I'll get a little bit more into in my presentation, and more into the transformational role that I think consultants can play.
I love it. The second question I have for you is, I know we're going to do a session here on high ticket consulting, but
Yeah.
help us understand the parameters of low ticket, mid ticket, and how you define high ticket.
Yeah, I would define high ticket as a premium service where you are really guiding the client in a bespoke and custom way. So, for example, while I bring my clients down the same series of steps within a framework every single time, the way in which I go about it is very much customized to the organization. So whereas maybe we think of like low ticket courses or mid ticket courses, we hear that in the course creation space. Consulting is typically about helping traditional companies, both for profit and nonprofit, helps them be able to benefit from everything that we know how to do really easily as online marketers. And it is, again, really transformative to the organization. So I see high ticket consulting as very much a transformation process.
I
It's
love it.
interesting. Alex Hermosi in his book $100 Million Offers says, if you don't hate money, sell custom one-on-one services. And he's not wrong. And I think a lot of people miss that part of his book, but it's something that I think again is very much not spoken about in the online space, but is an incredibly powerful offer.
I love it. So, Laura, as you start to share your screen here, I've got a couple of questions for the
Yeah.
audience that are watching. First of all, I don't want you to watch this and think you're going to make a bunch of money. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about figures and numbers and things like that. So, doesn't mean we're implying that you're going to go
Yeah.
get rich off of this. Idea here is to just share inspiration of different business models and experiences that we've been through. And Laura she'd be the first one to tell you it's not easy to do consulting. It's a lot of details that go behind a great service bespoke delivery. The second thing is I want you guys and gals to interact with us and help us understand where you are in your potential consulting journey. Like, have you ever done a proposal? Are there certain industries that you're thinking about? Put those down. So as we see the chat come up, we can kind of address some of those things. So Laura, if you want to share your screen, let's go right
Yeah.
into the slides, which will allow us to get through a ton of content faster.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that you said that too, because I think ultimately, yes, this is a really nice, profitable opportunity. And and consulting is all about service. If you don't have that heart for service, it's going to be hard to really do well as a consultant. We want our clients to be so successful, and we want to take our knowledge and our experience and our expertise and use it to empower the teams that we're working with. And I'm very fortunate in that I do about an even amount of both for-profit and nonprofit work, and being able to be a small part of their mission is the most rewarding part. So I'll go ahead and get started, but I'm really glad that you said that. And like I had said previously, you do you. You'll have to take a look at what I'm sharing, and then you get to decide what is most applicable to you. Well, thank you so much again for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And today I'm going to talk about high ticket, high freedom with high level software. So I didn't start out thinking that I was going to sell high level software. It's something that I sort of fell into. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But this is really about how you can hypothetically reach six figures a year with just 10 clients by combining your expertise with high levels automation power. Again, this is not a guarantee of any future performance. This is my experience. It's sharing my experience so that you can learn from it and benefit from it. So, my name is Laura Meyer, and 8 years ago, I completely started over in my career. I had a brick and mortar chain. I did not want to be in retail jail anymore. If any of you have been in brick and mortar, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And give me a shout actually in the chat if you've been a brick and mortar business owner. Now we serve them, but I wanted more flexibility and freedom. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I ended up selling off my locations. And since then, I've built my consulting business to over $400,000 a year at a really nice profit margin with just one part-time employee working very part-time hours. And I'm going to share with you exactly how I did that in this presentation today. So let's see. So I'm a grateful wife. I'm married. I have a mom. I have 3 kids. And I will say that I'm very much in my soft girl era. So for those of you who are guys who are listening, I'm so glad you're here. Again, I'm just sharing my experience as a woman. And I think there's such a narrative out there that women and moms need to be at home with a huge, with no income, right? We're stay-at-home moms when we're not making any money, or we have to be hustling hard, working 80 hours a week and to be a big earner. And what I have found is that there is a better way where you can create time freedom and abundance without giving up what matters to you most, which is the relationships and the people in your lives, and being able to do fun things like relive my high school and college years playing tennis and now pickleball. So, this was the vision I set out for myself 8 years ago, which was that lifestyle of abundance and freedom while still being completely open and available for my family. And today I live that and so much more. So I know we talked about previously, what is consulting? So what is this anyways? What exactly is consulting? Before I get into exactly what the model is, I want to share with you what my definition is. So let's talk about what it isn't. It's not doing work that needs to get done. That's typically more of a freelance role, but some people start out consulting just getting things done. And that's not a bad thing, but ultimately it's more than being a doer or a freelancer. You're typically not hands-on in the business as a consultant. You are much more of a strategist. Being a fractional employee could be consulting, but it's not how I personally define it. It's not done for you services or agency services. It's really about being a thought partner to the companies that you're advising and being that strategic advisor versus being a doer. And some people come my way and they're previously an agency owner or a freelancer and they're like done with the doing, right? They're just like, I just want to not have to do all of this heavy lifting anymore. And so separating out the strategic thinking that you're already doing as an agency owner and creating a standalone service is a really great way to go about starting to consult. So, the role of a consultant is to come in and provide outcome based solutions and leave the business as a better off as a result. I always say when I come into a consulting arrangement, I let the teams know my job is to help you be even more successful at what you're already doing. My job is to empower you, to give you the tools and the templates and the resources for you to be able to get to your goals faster and easier than you could have on your own, or maybe you just didn't know about some of the things that I know how to do. I say it in a way that's very respectful, of course, but this is where we can step out of the role of being a doer and really stay in that role of being an advisor. And it's very important that we don't mix the two because it can really confuse the relationship. I'm very much advising and I'm letting them know exactly what I think their best path forward is based on what they've let me know that their goals are. Can be done over Zoom. So that's how I deliver my services. I deliver my consulting services in bi-weekly 45-minute meetings. So it's not a huge time commitment, even though it is a one-on-one service. And it might even include an occasional in-person workshop or a session. And then when they're done, we can provide ongoing support as needed. And the role of a consultant is to really move the needle on any type of outcome. So on the operations, finance, HR side, it might be people, process, system optimization. On the revenue side, it might be marketing or sales or lead generation. I happen to specialize in sales process optimization, which is where HighLevel comes in. But the role of a consultant is to really focus on that single outcome, and that single outcome then shapes the scope of the consulting work.
Now, Laura, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Does that outcome, does that have to be tied to a number? Is there a revenue attached to it? Is there a number of leads? Like, what is the currency of outcome that you define or you
Yeah.
recommend? Yeah.
It's such a good question. And I love Nancy Duarte's book, Data Story, because she talks about how leaders are measured. And leaders are measured in a variety of different ways. So the outcomes could be more on the operational side. If you're using high level, I do believe that you can use it in a variety of different ways to help with operating efficiency. But it has to be some kind of number, as you mentioned. It can be related to team efficiency, market share. It could be related to turnover if you're in the HR field of HR, so reducing team turnover. It could be around productivity if you're around automation or AI. But it has to be some kind of measurable outcome. And that is the big difference between coaching and consulting. Coaching is about behavior change and modification, whereas consulting is all about business outcomes.
Love that.
Yeah. So, this is not being a business coach. I have had people move from business coaching to consulting. It's not having a done for you agency. I'm grateful for those of you who provide done for you services. I am a consumer of done for you services, but that's not what this is. It's not about having an agency. It's not about master resale rights or multi level marketing or any type of influencer stuff. You don't have to become a content creator to be a consultant. In fact, you probably shouldn't. It's all about creating a real legitimate business that helps businesses get more of what they need, customers, efficiency, revenue, etc., in a way that makes it easier and faster than they could on their own. And yeah, feel free to jump in anytime because if you have questions, the people watching probably have the same questions. And I love the interaction part of giving a presentation. So please, please jump in anytime.
Thank you. Yep.
So I don't sugarcoat anything. It does take legitimate effort to set up and learn the systems, but when you do it right, it works so, so well. And the nice thing about consulting is unlike Facebook ads or unlike being a content creator, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single month. You can use the same setup, the same systems and processes every single time you acquire a new client. So a lot of times people want to know, okay, Laura, how do I get to $10,000 a month in consulting revenue? So I want to break that down for you, and then I'll talk a little bit more about how I use high level in my offers. So when it comes to 10K a month in consulting revenue, and let me know in the chat too if that would be your goal. I just think if I can get as many of my students to 10K months, we're really winning because then you are able to typically net six figures. Again, not guaranteed, but usually that's possible. And you can also, it just gives you the ability to create momentum in your business and grow from there. It's much easier. It's much more difficult to set up your first 10K than to get to 20, 30, or 40K in consulting revenue. So we're going to start here with 10K months. A lot of times people don't know what to sell, right? So they start consulting. Businesses or leaders that they might have a relationship with come to them out of nowhere and say, hey, we have this problem. And you're like, I'm a problem solver. I'm pretty good at solving problems. You can pay me and I'll solve the problem for you. But then it becomes transactional or difficult to deliver. So they end up spinning their wheels and end up back where they started, which is, Laura, what is it that I sell? And I'm a big believer in that you need to be selling a must-have consulting offer. I talk about this in my programs and my courses. It's the difference between a 2 a.m. problem, which you need a painkiller for, or a vitamin, right? So if you're up at night and your arm hurts because you're playing too much pickleball, are you looking for a vitamin? Or are you looking for a painkiller? You want the painkiller. When you wake up in the morning, you might take some vitamins and it'll make you feel better long term. But if you don't take those vitamins, you'll be just fine. Whereas if you don't take the painkiller, you may be very uncomfortable. What we want as a consultant is to have a painkiller offer. Because when you have a painkiller offer, it makes it so much easier to market and sell. So this is where you're going to want to create an in-demand offer and solve for maximum impact. I use high level with my clients to solve any challenges they have around sales process, enrollment, or fundraising optimization. That's what I solve because for the leaders that I serve, that's their 2 a.m. problem. That's what they're waking up at night, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, saying, how am I going to raise this money, fill this program, or get more customers? So that's what my approach is to consulting. But whatever your approach is, what you want to do is make sure that you are giving your clients quick wins to build trust. This is why I love HighLevel so much, because it does the heavy lifting that an employee or two or three could do. So in order to get them moving really quickly, I come in and they're able to get that quick win. But I'm such a big believer, and I've had people come into my world and they say, well, it takes 6 months or 12 months for my clients to get a win or to see a measurable result. And what I say is, we've got to fix that offer. Because if you can get your client a quick win within 30 days, they will keep you on for a very long time. It is such a trust builder to come in and get that immediate impact. So when you're thinking about, well, what is it that I could sell? We want to make sure that your consulting offer is outcome based, that it is measurable, that it's a needle moving offer. So the
Laura,
next thing, yeah,
do you
sure.
mind helping us understand the structure of a consulting offer? So what I mean by that is it a ideas session with the potential
Yeah,
customer that says, here's my go-to prescription to
yeah.
this problem, and are you selling the idea? Is that the offer, or are you selling the ability for you to deliver that idea with potential, like, act as a general contractor and bring specialists in? Or are you the specialist that says, here's my offer? Like, help us understand the structure of that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I love that you asked this because it's probably something that a lot of people are wondering. What does this actually look like? So, the way in which I position my consulting offer, and HighLevel helps with this, is I let them know I'm not one of those consultants that comes in, waves my arms around, and acts like the people from Office Space. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is it that you actually do around here? Should we even be paying you? Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants a know it all to come in and start like blurting out ideas and leave. So, what I do is I have an intake process in which I learn a lot more about the organization that I'm serving. And during my sales process, too, it's very collaborative. I'm asking a lot of questions. I have a signature process called the collaborative close. Then they go into an intake process, and that intake process is quite thorough. Then I come to them, and this is a 90-minute meeting, and I come to them with my strategy, and it's a 90-day strategy called the 90-day growth engine. Then, once everybody signs off on the strategy, and that's a planning meeting, that 90-minute meeting. Then, once everybody signs off on the strategy, I meet with them bi-weekly for 45 minutes for the next 90 days. And together we implement the strategy. HighLevel, 9 times out of 10, is part of that implementation plan. But what a lot of companies are worried about, or organizations are worried about, is they're like, last time I hired a consultant, they came here and started just pontificating and left. And what I let them know is that I'm the kind of person that I'm not going to leave them with questions. I'm going to work shoulder to shoulder with them and help them with implementation. While I'm not an agency, we don't provide done for you services. Our goal is to empower and educate and provide resources and tools to the client so that they can easily implement the strategy without having to worry about whether or not they're doing it right.
Got it. Brilliant. So their resources or their people, whoever is involved in the implementation, is assigned to the execution of what you're guiding them through.
Yes, and we make that really clear upfront. Now, some people might be listening and saying, well, I don't think clients want that. I think they want me to come in and do all the doing. But I actually think that's a misnomer, and I'll tell you why. Clients they want to make an investment in something that's going to give them a long-term result. And if they're very dependent on you, they aren't going to know how to operate on their own. So what I say to clients when I'm selling to them, which is very refreshing for them to hear because they're like, nobody says this. So I'm like, I want to make it so you don't need me anymore. I'm going to set up these systems. I'm going to charge appropriately. This is a long-term investment in your organization that you will see a benefit from for a very long time. And my job is to make sure this is part of your organizational DNA. It's part of what everybody does on a daily basis. And a lot of times, too, it's a matter of time reallocation for the team. So, for example, I bring in HighLevel. Well, we don't need to be running around town with flyers anymore, right?
Mhm.
This is going to replace all of that busy work that they're doing. And so my job is to help them figure out how to be more efficient with what I'm coming to the table with, but not be so dependent on me that they need to pay me forever to get the result.
I love it. So if I'm building at least a 10K a month consulting business of some
Yeah.
kind, the first thing is to, I don't know what to sell. So you talked about the outcome-based offers and
Yeah.
consulting, and then don't know who to sell it to. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah. So we don't know who to sell it to. Should I do dances on TikTok to sell premium consulting services? Probably not. And if you're anything like me, it's a relief to hear, right? I'm a big fan of relationship marketing to premium buyers. I actually have a book on Amazon, and it's free on Amazon Unlimited if you have it, called Win Win. And it's all about how to build your premium business, consulting or coaching or whatever you're doing through relationship marketing. And premium buyers buy based on relationships. So the first thing is to have an outcome based consulting offer because that's what's going to make you referable. Hey, hey friend in the CEO group, seems like your numbers are going up. What did you do? Oh, I hired this person. They really helped me. It was a consultant and they came in with the technology and like we're seeing all of this business come in all of a sudden. That's how premium buyers buy. So there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads for your consulting offer. And I talk about this a lot on my YouTube channel and get into a lot more specifics. But the truth is, everything works, right? LinkedIn works, roundtables work, presentations work, networking works. But it's about doing it in a way that premium buyers want to consume. And so, what does that actually mean? First, you have to sell what they want to buy. The last thing you want to do is explain to a leader what their problem is and then why you should be the one to solve it. If the problem is not big enough, that it's not already on the leader's mind, move on to a different outcome based offer. It's really important that you sell what they want to buy. And then you want to make genuine offers to help. This is when we want to think about selling as service. And that's when you can make a no pressure sale. And I have a system called the collaborative close, which I had just mentioned previously, where it's all about that two-way dialogue. And it's a sales process that isn't pushy or salesy or anything like that, but where you're bringing information in that eventually informs their onboarding process but also makes them feel seen and heard because pushy and salesy, it doesn't work for leaders of organizations and founders anyway. So you don't even have to worry about doing all of that. The main thing is to lean into relationship marketing.
I love that. When you say collaborative close, as a, previous agency owner myself, and I had some consulting offers
Mm.
in my packages, one thing I think about when you say close is the length of a sales cycle to
Yeah.
get to the close. Can you help us understand what that looks like before you can even get to the collaborative close framework?
Yes. So for the first component of that is to make sure that you're reaching out and that you are marketing to the right client. So I like to think of a sweet spot client typically between $500,000 in revenue and $10 million in revenue. That's when your sales cycle is going to typically be one conversation, maybe one conversation, and then like a 15-minute follow up. Because typically you're talking to the decision maker. In a nonprofit, it might be the executive director. So that would also apply to an operating budget for nonprofits. You might be talking to an executive director. But typically, you're talking to the founder of the organization within that revenue range, which makes it a much shorter sales cycle than going out and selling to corporate. It also makes it really enjoyable to help because I know at high level, you're all about mainstream businesses. And I used to be one. And so I keep thinking if I just had this service, if I just had this technology when I was in their shoes, my life would have looked a lot different. I might not even be talking to you right now. I might be sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere. But I love the idea of working with that established traditional or nonprofit local company and that's what's going to shorten the sales cycle.
Makes sense. And the way you engage with them, is it like a setup fee and you do a 90-day run, or is it like all up front? Like what is the structure of the exchange?
Yeah. I believe I have this in here, but if I don't, I'll mention it now and I'll make sure that I cover it. But I personally, my consulting rates start anywhere between five and $10,000 a month, depending on the speed in which they want to go and the size of the project. And it is typically within 90 days. So it's usually $5,000 to $10,000 a month for 90 days. Typically, my nonprofit clients typically stay between 6 and 9, so that's 3 cycles of the 90-day planning system. And then when I was doing fractional CMO work, they stayed more like a couple years.
Got it. Okay,
Mhm.
let's keep going.
Yeah. And then the third problem that a lot of people struggle with is maybe you're already at $10,000 a month in consulting revenue. And let me know in the chat if you're okay with sharing if this is you, but you're spending way too much time in delivery. And again, I think this is a misconception that people have about consulting as they think, oh, it's time for money, because they think of people that work in big six firms that work their tail off. Or maybe they know of people who are doing project-based consulting work and charging by the hour, which can be really profitable, but then you're buried and you're spending way too much time in delivery. So how do we solve for that when we're getting to that first 10K month? The main thing is to deliver using a framework versus your time. So I shared previously about this idea of a 90-day framework, and I provide my students with my own framework inside of my programs. But whether or not you use mine or you create your own, what's really important is the client has an idea of what to expect and that you're bringing them down a step-by-step process and that they're clear on their expectations of what that process looks like. And that process is defined, that framework is defined by the agreed upon outcome. And this prevents you from being the smart person on retainer, which sometimes happens as consultants. They're like, oh, I've got this smart girl, I've got this smart guy in retainer. I'm just going to message them and text them every single time my brain explodes, right? And then you end up really stressed out. So what we want to do is we want to deliver using a framework which naturally narrows the scope and the focus. And most importantly, they're much more likely to get a result that way, because I did it for the first few years. I was just honestly needing to bring money into my house. So I solved all sorts of different problems for different people. And I went around just being available on retainer. And I was pretty stressed out. It was quite time consuming. And I finally realized that having that framework in place is literally the difference between working 8 to 10 hours a week or working 50 or 60 hours a week as a consultant. And here's the kicker. My clients actually got a better result when I switched to framework based delivery, because it was so focused and it was so just laser focused and honed in on that outcome, that everything, every conversation, every message became about how are we going to get to that outcome.
You know what I love about this, Laura?
Yeah.
There there are boundaries
Yes.
when you have a framework. I still recall one of my old clients called me like 9 p.m. and said, Paulson, like our computers went out at the office. And I was a, lead generation Facebook ads guy. That's what we did, that I had a dental agency and that's what we did. Run ads, that's what I sold. But she called me that night and she's like, hey, Paulson, like we need help, our computers went out. And I thought to myself, how did she connect the dots that I can be like an IT person for her and, come there in the morning and help with a bunch of compact Presarios and IBMs that are all not
Oh my
working. I'm like, I don't think I did a good job putting the boundaries together of
God.
what my services are, right? And that story is what I'm thinking about when you say have a framework versus just open-ended time or hours on retainer. Can you
Yeah.
share can you go deeper into how you set these boundaries? There's more to this.
Yeah. I think it's all about how the relationship starts. So some people will say to me, "Oh my gosh, I'm spending so much time in this consulting offer. How do I narrow it down?" And I often say like, "Well, let's not bait and switch people. We really need to make sure that whatever we're selling is what we're delivering." So it starts in the sales process. It starts by the way in which you ask questions and how you position yourself as a thought partner and not a doer during the sales process. And how you sell that is a huge benefit to the company that you're working with. Then, during onboarding and intake, it's really about taking that position of being a person of influence in that company. And inside of my training programs, I actually took a course on influence at the Wharton School of Business because I wanted to develop my own skill set around that. And I pass that along to my students. But asking really good questions and not pushing, but really challenging your client and making sure that they understand that you are here to guide them. They are the hero of the story, you're the guide, but you're also not here to solve every single problem in the business. And when you set it up the right way from the onset, that naturally happens. Like my clients don't have my cell phone number. I've actually never had a client with my cell phone number. And they know exactly how to reach me. They know my hours of support. They know the channels in which I support them. Everything is provided when they onboard. We have a how we work and how to get support document. Sometimes they forget. And so I'll just pull it up during a meeting and say, hey, just as a reminder, I wanted to make sure that you knew that these support channels are available to you here. But it's all about redirecting. But the main thing is setting expectations. It's so much easier to remind people of what they agreed to than all of a sudden have to backtrack and then set boundaries retroactively. I think that would be really difficult to do.
I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, I got my tennis to play, right? So I can't be on the cell phone playing my matches. Um, so you deliver the framework versus your time. And the main thing is just to use a proven framework, whether it's mine or yours, so that you're trading outcomes for income, which makes for that fluid and easy delivery. And I'm going to explain today one of my offers called the 90-day growth engine, which is incorporated with HighLevel. And a lot of this might be new to you. A lot of this might be something that you haven't heard before in the online space. And all of this is what I learned the hard way so that you don't have to. So I'm really excited to share it with you. But when you have that framework in place and you know that you're coming in with an outcome based offer, that's when your sales become effortless. You do not need to be awesome at sales when you have an outcome based offer with proof of concept attached to it. People will automatically say to you, okay, how do we work together? Then, when you've got that outcome based consulting offer and it's wrapped up within a framework, that's when you get that freedom first lifestyle. That is the difference between working very part time hours or killing yourself working full time. You and I both probably know consultants that work crazy hours. And that's the difference. It's making sure that what you're delivering is very much outcome based and it's within a framework. And then when you have a framework that you know is going to work every single time, and you're able to provide that to them as part of your sales process, that's when you develop that unshakable confidence. People often say to me, my students often say to me, like I'll give them advice and they're writing it down. They're like, how did you say that? You said that so well. How did you develop that confidence? And I just say, like, I've done my reps. I've done my 10,000 hours at this. Hopefully all of you can see that. It's not something I just invented yesterday and started teaching. And that will develop over time. That confidence, I promise you, if you're sitting here and you're like, I don't know if I could do this, I don't have the right experience. First of all, HighLevel makes it so easy for you to be able to deliver an outcome-based consulting offer. And I love that about HighLevel. And then the second thing is, no, you're not going to feel confident sitting and watching the game, right? Like my son plays travel baseball, my oldest. I'm a terrible baseball player. I'm a softball player. I have no idea how I produced a baseball player. But I'm not going to feel confident cheering for him on the sidelines, right? I'm confident in him, but not in myself. If I wanted to learn how to play the game, I got to get in the game. And that's what you have to do if you want to develop that kind of unshakable confidence. So here's my HighLevel story. I know you asked about it previously, but I had heard of HighLevel, and I mean, this is kind of funny to admit, but I dismissed it as a software. I kind of thought, oh, that's for internet marketers. I'm quite different. I have more of a professional background. I'm doing this elevated service. HighLevel is great for other people, but not for me. And I had a friend, a peer, and in one of a program that I was in, and he's a big HighLevel guy and super helpful, extremely generous, just wonderful person. And he's talking to me a little bit about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. That sounds interesting, but probably not for me. I'm not very technical. I'm much more of a strategist. I'm a big picture person. I am not techie at all. I don't know if that would be a good thing to bring into my business. And then I was helping a nonprofit organization. And this nonprofit organization is amazing. I was very passionate about their mission, still am. And they help children who are impacted by incarceration, by bringing them, meaning that they have a father typically or a mother, an immediate family member in prison. So this is a child who's experiencing extreme trauma. And they bring them together at a 1-week summer camp so those kids can have like a real childhood experience where everybody that they're around, I like get chills talking about it, or like everybody they're around understands their situation, understands their predicament, isn't judging them, isn't saying, Shh, did you know where that kid's father is? They're able to actually live a normal life for a week. And we were doing really well. They were having a hard time filling their program because it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack, trying to find a child within this particular state where this nonprofit operates that fits the requirements for enrollment. And we were doing a great job. We had this outreach plan to social workers, and that was working okay. And then I said, why don't we start running Facebook ads and call people forward who are experiencing, who are impacted by incarceration, families impacted by incarceration. Those Facebook ads started working great. I trained them on how to, trained them on how to use Facebook ads. They're very simple to use for a local business like that. And we helped them create an enrollment page for the program. It was going really well. And all of a sudden, the team member that was responsible for texting people to bring them into the program got a new job. And it was pretty unexpected. He left that week, and she had 30 days to fill her program or she was going to lose funding. She had a capacity grant.
Hmm.
And she was so stressed. And I was so stressed for her. So I called my friend, his name's Voltaire, and I called him and I said, can you help her with HighLevel? Is there anything you can do? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I can put a texting sequence in place by tomorrow. This was before A2P. So I was like, okay, like done. Whatever I need to pay you, whatever needs to happen, like I'll sign up now. I'll give you the software. Like I just need to help her. In 30 days, she increased her enrollment from when it was manually being done by 400%.
Wow.
She went from being worried that she could fill her program to having an overflow for the program, that then she ended up hiring me that following fall to help her with fundraising because she had overflow for the program. She was so happy. She thought I was a magician. She thought Voltaire is a genius, which he is. And I was thinking, I think I need to be using this more. I think we need to make this part of our protocols. And so at the time it wasn't, my HighLevel version wasn't branded, it wasn't pretty. The texting campaigns were, kind of thrown together. I had no training, but it really just it saved them.
Unbelievable.
Mhm.
We hear stories like this all the time, but you know, the hard part about HighLevel sometimes as a product-led company that is so good is that it's too good to be true.
Yes.
That's like the disadvantage. The product sometimes is too good. It's like it's hard to believe all these things are in here.
Yes. And it can do so much. But that's just one feature. It's just simple texting automation. Behavior-based texting automation, that's all it was. It took Voltaire's team 1 day to turn it around. So then I said to myself, "Okay, we need to be bringing this into all of the organizations that we work with, especially the nonprofit organizations that have so many different pressure points that they're experiencing, and they're really running 2 different they're running 2 different functions. One is fundraising to bring money in, and the other is programmed to spend the money. And any way that we can make their lives easier so they can impact more people is what we're all about. So that's my HighLevel story. That was about 2.5 years ago. And ever
Wow.
since then, almost every single one of our clients gets put on HighLevel.
So let's go back 18 months back where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I figured this high level thing has a play in what I do. What
Yeah.
what did the implementation for you look like? Like what is how do you go from consulting to now offering high level? Is it part of the consulting? Is it a separate thing? Is it an add-on? Like what does that offer structure look like when you say high level is part of my I'm
I'm so glad you asked. So here's I don't think you knew this was the next slide either, but it was good.
I
Good
haven't seen your
timing.
slide, so I love it.
Yeah. So here's how I use HighLevel in my business as a consultant, which is again, it's very different than just selling SaaS as a standalone service. It's a very different approach. It's not bad or good or better or worse than how anybody else does it. It's just that my path was very different. I came in as a consultant, realized HighLevel was going to help my clients even more, and I made it part of my offering. So when I come into a client, one of the first things I do is I start looking at their sales or their enrollment process. And for nonprofits or fundraising process, if it's for nonprofits or enrollment for nonprofits or sales process for for-profits. I start at about $5,000 a month. I'll charge up to $10,000 a month. It kind of just depends. And that can average anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a month when I'm just taking on a handful of clients. So that strategy piece is everything I explained to you previously. So it's the intake, it's the onboarding. I always tell my students, you really need to spend quite a bit of time on strategy. You don't need to spend a lot of time on delivery. That's the big difference between being a consultant, excuse me, and being an agency owner. But the strategy should be thoughtful. That's something that you really are going to want to spend some time on, looking at the data, looking at the intake, looking at different factors that are impacting their current result, so you can understand a little bit more about how you can advise on a different result. So that strategy is part of the 90-day delivery. Then, within that 90-day period, usually around day 45, we provide them with a one-time build in HighLevel, and I include this in my pricing. So I don't nickel and dime my clients. Like if I'm going to charge $6,500 a month, for example, I'm not going to then charge them separately for a HighLevel build. What I say to them is I have my own software. I let them know that I license the software because obviously I didn't build this in my basement. Like when you look at it, I mean, I'm pretty honest and transparent about the fact that this is a licensed technology from a company that that provides it exclusively to consultants and agency owners, and that it is an incredible software. If they need any type of data security information, I have that available for them. But I let them know this is a one-time build. It's optional if they want it. I don't make it a big deal during the sales process. I don't even bring up HighLevel during the sales process. But as we get into it, I say, I'm able to provide you, if you don't have the ability to text or email or create enrollment pages or sales pages, we can show you how to do that easily and quickly with a software that we have that's included in your consulting fees. So
Brilliant.
it's a total soft sell. I'm not nickel and diming anybody. And I let them know if I were in your shoes, I would take me up on this offer. And they're like, okay, sounds like a good idea. And sometimes, depending on if who we're working with, it has to go through approvals and whatnot, and that's fine. Then I let them know if you love it, at the end, when we're done working together, it will cost you between $300 and $500 a month. It usually depends if it's a for-profit or nonprofit. And that's the ongoing use of the software. If you don't love it, you don't have to pay me anything.
Let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
When does ongoing time period start? Is it after your term of consulting, or is it during, or like what is the starting point for the ongoing if wanted?
It's after.
Okay, so
So I'm
it's
not nickel
part
and
of the,
diming. Yep.
got it. Cool.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So after 6 months, 12 months of working with me, if they love HighLevel and they still want to use it, they just pay that fee. And the only thing they pay for during this time period of working with me is texting. I ask them to pay for their own texting.
Yeah. So let's talk about the reverse. Let's say we're done consulting and they
Mm.
don't want to use HighLevel anymore. How do you exit them properly without any issues? Like, do they keep their data or something? Do they just simply lose access? Like, what's the exit strategy look like?
Funny enough, I've actually never had it happen.
Of course, but
Everybody loves it and wants to keep it. And
okay.
what we do is we do a one-time build based on the single prescription that was part of their strategy. So when they get access to it and they see everything else it can do, it's
Yeah.
not something that we will train them on, but they can go to the HighLevel white labeled videos and learn how to
Yeah.
incorporate their social media or connect their calendar. Once they see everything it can do and they're like, "You're not charging me per user?" I'm like, "No, no, no. I want you to use it." They're like, "It can do all this?" They end up canceling their other softwares. We've
Yeah.
never had anybody stop.
Yeah.
If they did, I would absolutely give them their data. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I'm
not in
asking.
it to yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking in the sense of certain projects are just so narrow, like there's like a certain lane that you're just trying to solve that and you're
Yeah.
done. Maybe it's a seasonal business, maybe it's like there are scenarios where they may want to pause or whatever or figure out their own solution. So I think it's important to address that because sometimes the clients are techy enough themselves to self-navigate and it's okay if they don't need you right away, you know?
Yeah, our big thing is don't touch anything.
I love
So
it.
we do the one-time build. So for example, let's say we put in a texting campaign. We're like, "Here's where you need to change something if you absolutely have to, but please don't." And they typically don't. They don't
Makes
really
sense.
they've got bigger problems. They're out saving the world. Like they don't need to mess around with the automation. So we say like, "Please don't." But if you want to use any of the other features, here's a bunch of videos that you can check out.
Makes sense. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it's good questions. So you can see we've had so many student wins with this type of setup. People are seeing huge growth. This is a student who said that she sold a high level package for $1,500 a month, and this was on top of her fractional CMO retainer. So when you're positioning it again as part of the consulting service, it ends up being really great for the client and then great for you because consulting on itself is typically doesn't have any type of passive revenue on the back end. But high level makes that possible. And because our builds are silly simple, and because we don't try to come in and like sell them an entire CRM system, we're only selling them the build and the solution that will help make the strategy come true, then there really isn't that much maintenance.
What's the benefit of that? For the folks that are starting out
Yeah.
new in consulting, what's the benefit of having ongoing subscriptions or low maintenance retainers? Like,
I mean, gosh, yeah, something happens. Your family gets sick. You just decide that you want to take some time off. You want to go travel for a month. Consulting is what I would call active income. It's really good active income when you set it up right and you build your business the right way, but it's active income. Whereas the recurring revenue stream on the back end, this software component here of the licensing, that is passive, meaning you don't have to actively deliver. Now, we do support them, but you can outsource support. You don't have to be the one doing it. So, as that revenue stream builds up, it can cover your household expenses, which again just gives you that security and that safety net if you ever wanted to do something else.
love it.
Mhm. So here's how else you can use high levels. That's how I use it in my consulting business. But here's how I use it to also run my consulting business. So I talked about the client side, but let's talk about how I run my own consulting business on high level. I'm going to share with you client pipelines and automations. It's actually my favorite part of high level. And any of you who are listening who know high level, you might feel like, oh my gosh, that's like the simplest feature, but it's actually my favorite feature. And I'll talk about why in a minute. You can host events for lead generation. So I'll talk about a bonus in a little bit that if you end up signing up under my affiliate link, I'll show you how to host lead generation events called executive roundtables for lead generation. And you can do it right here in high level. You can create, excuse me, inbound lead magnets. So here's one of my lead magnets, which is a nonprofit case study. You can just create them and host them right in high level. It's like amazing everything that it can do. You can bill clients and send contracts. Here's a tip just between us girls that I don't take credit cards for my consulting work. I take ACH payments, which high level can support. And yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the pipeline demo. So I'm going to move over to the pipeline feature since I love it so much. And it's part of the snapshot that you received by signing up for this class. So I'm going over to Catalyst here. Can you see that screen now?
I see the slides.
Okay. I'm going to move over
Okay.
to a different screen. I get to
Has
see.
this, I'm asking the chat here, has this been helpful so far? Is this giving you a lot of new creative ideas of how to build a consulting offer into the mix of things? I mean, if you are loving this so far, give us a
Yeah.
one in the chat. And also, if you don't mind, tell us what city and state or region you're checking in from. Like, I know there's a lot of people here on live. Would love to know who's local to what areas. We have a lot of cool events that are happening across the world, so you definitely want to get in with the local group and share spend time with other consultants. That's a really big piece of having a consulting business. So, Laura, I'm seeing your
Yeah.
screen here. Let
Okay.
me let me maximize your screen
Okay.
for a second.
That's great.
There it is. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to pop back to my screen here. So I love the
Yeah.
pipelines inside of High Level. This is my favorite feature. I actually have a lot of favorite features, so it's hard to choose one, but this is the one that I learned. This was the first one I learned and started using right away. And if you have any client that you're talking to, any for profit, nonprofit, traditional business, there is a very good chance that they have no idea where their leads are, where their prospects are. It is crazy. You could talk to a CPA firm down the street and you would say, well, tell me about where you're storing the data of people who were expressed interest but haven't actually decided to work with you yet. And what they'll do is they'll pick up scrap pieces of paper and they'll start showing them to you. And you're like, Really? Well, how do you know when to follow up? And how do you know? This is the most simple, silly, simple, but powerful tool is to have a pipeline, not only for your clients. So we use this all the time for client work where we have different stages in the customer journey and we design those stages. Then we create pipelines that with those stage labels and simply create automations, emails or texts that go out when you drag the person's name from one stage to the next. And I know you're probably thinking, Laura, you get paid the big bucks to do that. And the answer is I do. It's again so simple, but so powerful. So for that for profit traditional service based company that has all of their leads on pieces of paper that says pick up at Target, that's you want to take all of that. First of all, you want to design the customer journey with them, but then take all of those leads and put them into pipeline stages. And whoever's in charge of business development or sales at that company just drags names every single time something happens from one stage to the next. And what's so awesome is a lot of times in the sales process or discovery process, you might ask a potential client, well, do you know how many of those leads turn into sales appointments? It's okay if you don't know. So I always try to normalize it because I don't want them to feel embarrassed that they don't know. But most of them have no clue. Whereas then High Level can give you a dashboard, and this is just one of our sample accounts, so it might not fully load, but it can give you a dashboard on where the clients are at any stage so you can see where the bottlenecks are. Like that simple delivery is so incredibly powerful. And I was working with a for a profit education company that was keeping track of their leads in a spreadsheet. And it was a $3 million company, just by implementing this system, it grew by about 20% in 6 months. Just by
Wow.
having a system of following up with leads and having a messaging strategy and a series of stages that were pre-designed of what that they want that journey to look like. So in your own consulting pipeline, and you'll get access to this snapshot. And a snapshot is just a little template that you can click and install into your High Level account. But I have all the different stages that you should have for your own consulting business right here. So new lead in, lead out, responded, qualified, discovery call scheduled, didn't show up, deciding on offer, under contract, and onboarding. So those are the stages you should use for your consulting business. And I have this all ready for you along with a sample email.
Yes, and if you're watching this live, there is a link where you can jump into a trial of High Level if you don't have an account, and that's going to be what you want to do so you can get Laura's resources here. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for letting them know that. And then also, you'll get access to what I call a connection pipeline. Connection pipelines are what's going to systemize your relationship marketing. So, a lot of times people say, well, how do you make relationship marketing predictable? How can you make sure that you're getting referrals coming in on a regular basis? And again, you want to make sure that you're doing that by tracking and having a system. So we have a connection pipeline here too, which is how for many years I kept track of my own, and I still do, my own connections of, because you meet somebody at a networking organization, or maybe you do a podcast exchange. I used to do this a lot, where I do podcast exchanges and I'd leave with a great person as part of my network. Maybe they weren't a client opportunity, but they were somebody I should stay in front of because they would be very likely to refer me if I did. And I would keep a pipeline of my own connections and relationships where I had a warm, a hot, warm, and cold follow-up system for those contacts. And if somebody referred me, then they would become a partner, an ecosystem partner, meaning that they were getting awesome holiday gifts around the holiday time, meaning that they would get little surprises in the mail. I would love, and I still love, on my partners, my referral partners. And so by having a system like this, you can generate referrals in a way that maybe people would think would be unpredictable in a much more predictable way.
Got it.
Mhm. So I'll switch back over to my slides, but that's just my quick high level demo. There's so much more to it, but we have had such a fantastic experience with high level, and I was excited to share that with you.
I love it. So as we kind of close out and just
Yeah.
kind of put some final thoughts here,
Yeah.
what are the next steps for someone that's watching and they're like really interested in launching a consulting business? Like, how do we get a client? How do we get a beta going? How do we get like a case study built? Like, what is the first step?
Yeah. The first step is to create that outcome based offer. And you can do that. I've got a YouTube channel with tons of YouTube videos. If you decide to come, I have some really affordable programs that if you want to jump in, you could do that. But the main thing is just to make sure that you have an offer that is outcome based, that you can start beta testing within your local community. And what I like to do is I like to recommend that my students start with beta clients, because again, that gives you proof of concept around your offer. It allows you to kind of test things out a little bit without feeling like you need to get it perfect. You're just being really honest that you're just starting out as a consultant. And then you can start building up those case studies to start utilizing some of the relationship marketing strategies that I teach.
Love it. Are there anything else we need to go over with the slides in mind?
Yeah. So here's a question I get a lot, because a lot of the people in my world are not techie and I'm not techie. And they say, Laura, there's so much that high level can do. Should I go with a simpler software? And my answer is always this: start with a software you will not outgrow. If you start with a software that just invoices, first of all, you're not saving that much money from high level's base package.
Mhm.
But more importantly, you are going to outgrow it, because as you grow your company, you're going to want to host events. You're going to want to do email marketing. You're going to want to start doing text marketing. You're going to realize that you have a client that would make a really good sub account. And you'll end up having to transfer all the data over, which is not recommended. So even though you might not use all of the features of high level in the beginning, really make sure that you start with a software that you don't outgrow. So, in terms of next steps, I have an affiliate program. You'll see that many people do. Mine's a little bit different. It's more geared towards people who are interested in getting started in consulting. And so, when you join my affiliate program, it's quite a generous program, as you will see. And if you just want to trial the software in the beginning, that's great. That's fantastic, and it'll give you a sense of what you can expect. But if you really want to dig in and you want my support and helping you become an in-demand consultant with high level software, I really recommend you consider my affiliate program. So when you first come in, I am going to show you how you can generate leads using high-level software and some of the prospecting tools inside of it, which is so incredibly powerful. Then I'm going to show you that exact sales pipeline and how you can follow up with leads and the exact messages to send so that you never have any leads slip through the cracks ever again. And then I'm going to show you how to bill, onboard, and organize your contracts in HighLevel, where you have a single location where all of your sales, marketing, and fulfillment takes place. So I have a very extensive course inside of the program. So I have an entire program and training program. I show you exactly how to bill your clients with ACH. I show you exactly how to create sub accounts and send them to clients. And here's the incredible part: you get to attend 5 coaching calls a month to make sure that you never feel alone in your consulting journey. So there's 4 that are listed here, and we just added on a 5th. So you get a call with me, a monthly call with Jennifer, who's our mindset coach and an actively working consultant and a certified life coach. You also get a sales support call from one of our top students, Jess. You also get tech calls with Voltaire, who I've mentioned previously. And we also now have a LinkedIn trainer inside of this program. So it's an incredibly robust program. Not only do you get all the training, but you get all the support as well. You also get a powerful bonus, which I call cold to close. And this is how to host executive roundtables using LinkedIn outreach and high-level software. If the word executive roundtable gives you imposter syndrome, no worries. You can call it whatever you want. I had somebody mention that to me previously, but it's just about small group conversations that help position you as an authority. And then you can turn those conversations into sales calls. So if you're ready to get started, all you need to do is sign up using my affiliate link. And if you register now, you can get immediate access.
Love it.
That's it.
Um, Laura, close us out
Yeah.
in and speak to the person that's just starting out. They're interested in consulting. They're totally scared of how to put the boundaries together. Don't have a contract template yet.
Yeah.
They just know consulting does work, but just learning and understanding the parameters around how to navigate as a digital citizen of some kind. Talk to that person if you don't mind to kind of close us out.
Yeah. I just want you to think about everything you've done to get to this point in your career. The degrees you had to get, the performance reviews you had to sit through, the jobs you had to get. This isn't harder than what you've already done. It's just different. And if you feel uncomfortable, you're doing it right. Discomfort is the pathway to your dreams. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. You are going to feel imposter syndrome. I have a YouTube video on this. You are going to wonder whether or not you can really help these companies. But I promise you, when you start meeting with these companies and you realize that they know so little and you know so much, you're going to go from how am I going to help all these companies to how am I going to prioritize from all the issues they have? I promise you that. And the great thing about HighLevel is that you can get them a fantastic result without having to be an expert in everything because it does so much of the heavy lifting for you.
I love it. Well, Laura, thank you so much for saying yes to us. I know you have a lot going on with your business and your founder there and CEO and all kinds of cool nonprofits and great things that you're doing. So we appreciate you taking some time and teaching us the world of consulting and high level in mind. Excited for the next masterclass, folks. If you want to learn more about some of these virtual events that we're doing, you can go to High Level Academy or you can go to our events page and see what's upcoming. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.